Hey there neighbors, it's me, your friendly neighborhood artist, and I'm making a video about character design and the important elements of character design based on this thing I saw on Twitter today. It starts with this person who has an issue with the typical anatomy of a woman and a man, like the arm, right? It's an art tip, right? It's kind of weird because it comes from someone who doesn't know how to draw, and it's followed up in the comments by someone who doesn't understand character design. I don't know, I just thought that was weird, and I thought maybe I'd make a video about it. So I am a character artist first and foremost, but I also do a lot of world building too, because I'm a writer. I tend to stick to fantasy and the cyberpunk genre, probably like Resident Evil-ish too, whatever you call that genre. And if you've seen how to make a character for character design, this is kind of like the predecessor to that video, and I assumed that you already knew how to do what I was talking about in the video, but we're going to take a step back here. So let me show you these tweets. This person's upset and calls the typical arms for a male and female to be misogynistic, and as artists we know that humans have dimorphism. And we'll look at the pictures of the muscles here of the typical male and female. Complaining about art tips when you don't know how to draw is like you're a hoarder giving tips on how to be organized. It just doesn't apply. You know, typical means no stylistic choices, no different body shapes, but the basic average body shape and basic muscles. So we're going to talk about styles right now. Styles is like your stylistic flair, the things that come from what you like to draw as an artist. And I'm going to have two different artists right here. There's Tetsu Nomura and Rebecca Sugar. And as you can see, these two artists are very similar, but one is a cartoon artist and the other is like semi-realism with his own style. You can see that Cloud, Barrett, and Tifa are very different looking, with different bodies despite all fitting together as the style. When you see Steven, Stag, and Rainbow Quartz, you can tell that the character is feminine, masculine, or somewhere in between. And we'll look here at Gravity Falls for like a last example. Look at all these characters. They're unique, but they fit into the style despite not having any typical muscles or like typical shapes of the hands and arms, because that's the artist's style. Following realism isn't misogynistic. It's just basic science of the norm. And when you see through these artists here that one follows typical semi-realism and the other two don't, but they still have knowledge of the anatomy to understand how to play with it for their own style preferences. And we're going to go over gender. There's, the genderless, non-binary, trans, androgynous. We're going to put that in a umbrella for now. So, people are more interested in including characters that lean in the middle of gender expression, but I feel there's like possibly some rules to that. Being one of these doesn't mean that you can be cheap with it and that they are not all the same. Trans is a little bit easier than some of the other ones because you can really draw just the opposite sex character and be done with it, because the rest is really done through the socialization of the character and not how they're presented, right? And I only mean for design, I don't mean for anything else. And I was actually pleasantly surprised to find a trans person in Horizon. I thought it was like inclusive and it just felt like the right design, and I'm gonna play the clip for you here.
Why is everyone so sure this Pental can't climb that mountain?
Our people are soldiers. We respect strength and agility. Pento has neither. Never has. He's been stuck on cleaning duty since he was a child. Yet he decided to undergo our clan's most difficult trial on his own.
And you think he's crazy for trying?
I'm not a fan of that word. When I chose to wear a woman's armor, people called me crazy too. I guess Pento just feels like he has to prove himself, to show who he really is. I understand, believe me. But that climb is hard enough, even without a storm.
And this is how you do it right. To the point, cool design, make it small, make it mean something. That's all that was needed. For androgynous and non-binary characters, I feel like they're harder to create You can't just make an ugly design that mixes the genders and suddenly they are whatever because they're androgynous, or they're not androgynous, or they're just non-binary. Because those terms don't necessarily mix and match. Like, they can mix and match, but they don't always mix and match. For androgynous, we're going to talk about androgynous characters. Griffith from Berserk is very androgynous. He is objectively feminine-faced to the point that he could be a convincing woman, but it's like 100% sure he is not, and he is a man, right? He goes by male pronouns, he is a male character, but, you know, when you look at him, you can tell, you know, he is very feminine looking, very, very, like, woman-faced. It's not mixing gender expression, but it's more mixing, like, the physical features of the opposite sex in a meaningful way that it doesn't necessarily hide their gender, but it's more confusing the gender. Well, not gender, confusing the sex is what I meant to say. And there's actually a real life person, Tilda Swinton. She's a very androgynous person, and if you ever watched Constantine, her portrayal of Gabriel fits because Gabriel is objectively a hyper feminine male, and she encapsulates confusing male body and middling features, made her like the perfect person for the job, because like Tilda has like a both like very feminine and very like male feature, and then like she has like almost like a skinny male body versus a skinny female body. So it was an easy choice. It's really more of a physical feature than a gender expression feature. The clothing isn't what makes the character androgynous. I wanted to show one of my characters. Her name is Suhi, and she undergoes like a Mulan situation and is in a hostile territory, changing to Wapi, right? And you know, at that point she goes by he, him pronouns. I drew the character to be very androgynous. Suhi is very female, but I did some studies on some faces. I gave her an athletic body type for a female to hide her shape. Her face is more sharp and angled with a different nose. Her story is about masking who she is, but even her physical features that hide her more than her clothing. I feel like a non-binary character is more of an expression of their gender and how they style themselves. A good example of two non-binary characters are Hanji from Attack on Titan and Haruka from Sailor Moon. These two are both clearly female, but they present as a masculine character. Design choices should be based on how their gender is affected through their style choices. This is my opinion and my opinion only. A good non-binary character still has prominent sex features while the style choices blur their gender, and it seemed like kind of easy for me to find biologically female characters that present as male, but I actually had a really hard time finding the opposite, but I did find a few. Fire Emblem from Tiger and Bunny. They have a period of time where they're presenting as feminine, like traditionally feminine, and then they start to, you know, change their style over the course of their life, I guess. And I'm not sure if they actually go by they them pronouns, but I'm assuming that they do. And they have like a very feminine style despite being still traditionally like male sexed, right? Because the gender expression is what matters here. So the outfit is what matters. How they, you know, move their body is what matters here. It's not like their physical features. And the other one is Andre from Final Fantasy VII Remake. This one's a little bit, I feel like this one's kind of like in the middle. While he does go by he, him pronouns, his gender is very neutral and mixed to me because like they have like a very feminine energy and their body language is very feminine and their clothing style is very feminine to me. So it feels like the character is objectively very feminine while, you know, has the very masculine face and like, you know, has like a goatee and stuff. It's the clothing and all the other things that are important to this character. And that's not to say that an androgynous character cannot be non-binary, but this is like more of a differentiating them from one another. So like if you want to have an androgynous character and a non-binary character in the same setting, you want to make them distinctly different, this is how I would go about it. And this is how I have gone about it. So it would be, easy to have like an androgynous male character who presents as gender neutral or non-binary, but it's really just like physical traits versus expressed traits here. And I did want to like just put up this cute little thing from Final Fantasy VII.
True beauty is an expression of the heart, a thing without shame, to which notions of gender don't apply. Don't ever be afraid, girl.
Now I know that this is like, we've all gone over style and non-conforming genders, but let's get to this tweet about this person saying that they knew what character design is. Design is not just clothing and hair, it's about being able to tell these characters in a lineup. Here are the artist's characters. They are LGBTQ, but they have like really no silhouette about them. You really can't tell the differences between them if you were to like put them in a lineup, because there's like, they're just kind of blobby. And I'm not saying that to like be mean, because that's clearly their style. But if they wanted to make these characters more different, I find that, like, for example, all the bodies are the same, all the faces are the same, the clothes even appear to be the same here. There's no way to tell them apart if you didn't have them with color on them, right? And a good character design has a silhouette. I picked something that we all know as being same face, but immediately recognizable, the Disney princesses. You see this image and you know who it is, and you know who's who, because while they are all like hyper feminine women, almost all of them have the same face except for two. But it's their pose, which tells their attitude, usually also tells the time period here, hair design, dress design, and like expression, right? Like expressed pose. We'll go over the expression of the character. The expression of the character tells so much about who they are, and I'm going to put up some character sheets for expressions. We'll use Cloud, Barrett, and Jean from Attack on Titan, and the main character from Your Name. Cloud is like a deeply introverted, kind of a sad sack. His expressions are always going to be muted, so even his like happy face is like a muted happy, Barrett is overly aggressive, loud, boisterous, warm, and his expression sheet says Big Bear Man. Jean always looks annoyed. His expressions are annoyed plus happy, annoyed plus sad. So it's like a combination of his default is annoyed and everything else is on top of that. And the main character from Your Name is generally like a soft guy, generally happy, a little snarky, like typical main character teenager. Like, this is like the last part of the video. It is the pose and colors. Find a pose that represents your character. Go on a hunt for poses. Full body poses. I know that, listen, I don't like drawing full bodies either because they're hard, but I still do it. I'm going to show one of my characters here because I want to show my own art, even though it's not finished, so it's just the line art. This is my character, Kaitsua. She's a nun that follows a religion where emotions are basically not allowed, and she's very close with the villain, right? Like, I would say like a father-daughter relationship. Her expression is empty, leaning towards almost disgust. Her outfit is very modest, and as you could see, you could pick her out in a lineup. Like, if she was just all black, you would know which one was her. Her color palette would be like this. I don't have like an official color palette because I haven't colored it yet, but this is kind of what I'm leaning towards. And her antlers are unique, part of her, so there would be like a light blue along with her hair. She's supposed to be like a suppressed, deeply sad, emotionless character. I picked colors that reflect that, an outfit that reflects that, a pose that reflects that, an expression that also reflects that, and the silhouette that would reflect that she's kind of stuffy and like reserved and held back. This is, I guess, all I have to say for today. I hope this helps you out. Thanks for listening. Please share and subscribe for more help, advice, or just news. Later days, friends.